That first paycheck, man, it hits differently. Congrats on landing the job, by the way. It's got to feel awesome, getting that taste of freedom and all. And, man, it got to make the most of every experience, especially when it comes to finances. Am I right?
For sure.
So to help you navigate all this, we're doing a deep dive today into the Finshots Money Milestones guide, specifically their chapter, what's it called? Taste of Freedom. That's the one. They've got like all this practical advice packed in there, not just the boring save every penny stuff, but real strategies to make your money work for you to reach those big long-term goals.
Yeah, what I really like about this guide is how they, right off the bat, go straight for that emotional side of money, like that whole
Yeah.
taste of freedom feeling. That's huge. It's not just about like spreadsheets and numbers.
Exactly. Speaking of getting more, they have this whole thing about loud budgeting, which is interesting.
What?
Basically, instead of keeping your budget a secret, they actually say, go ahead, share your goals with your friends.
Right, right.
Kind of counterintuitive, don't you think? Like, isn't budgeting supposed to be like a private thing?
Well, see, there's a method to their madness, I guess you could say. It's all about the psychology behind it, accountability. When you share what you're working towards, it's like you're setting up these checks and balances, but like socially, you're way more likely to stick to it if you know your friends are in the loop.
Yeah.
Like having a workout buddy, right? Keeps you motivated.
Oh, totally. Like they used that example about the Goa trip, remember? It wasn't about saying, nope, can't do anything fun, ever. It was more about, okay, how do I make this happen? But like spend intentionally, prioritize what actually matters to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you're open about it, saying, hey, I'm saving up for something big here, you might actually inspire the people around you to be a little more mindful with their own money.
Yeah, for sure.
It changes the whole vibe from like, oh, got to cut back to this shared thing. Like you're all on this journey together to make smart choices.
Like building a culture of like open communication about money within your group, which is kind of cool.
Definitely.
So while we're talking priorities, this guide is really big on having not one, but two freedom funds. Now we're talking.
Okay, yeah.
We got the classic, the rainy day fund. Everyone knows that one. But then,
Yeah.
wait for it, the FU fund. Okay, I gotta admit, that one made me laugh.
Yeah, it's definitely an attention grabber.
But all jokes aside, both of these funds are about like building that solid financial base, that sense of security, peace of mind even.
Totally. It's like having that cushion, that safety net, so that when life throws those inevitable curveballs your way,
Because it always does, right?
always. But yeah, when those things come up, you can handle them without totally derailing your whole plan.
Okay, love it. So let's break it down. Rainy day fund first up. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty much. Think of it like your emergency fund. Right?
Yeah.
Car decides to break down out of nowhere. Unexpected medical bill. That leaky faucet finally goes full-on waterfall.
Ugh, don't remind me about plumbers.
Or even, the sudden job loss.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, right? Having this fund means you can weather the storm without, like, sacrificing your bigger goals.
Right. Makes total sense. Okay, but the FU fund, now that's where things get interesting. What would you say, like, constitutes a good FU moment, financially speaking?
Okay, picture this, yeah.
Yeah.
You're stuck in this job, you hate it, but you feel trapped because rent, bills, the drill, the FU fund, that's your ticket out of there. Gives
Yeah.
you the freedom to say, see ya, to any situation that's just not working for you anymore.
I like the sound of this already.
Like could be a toxic job, dead-end career path, or maybe you just want to take a year off and, I don't know, travel the world. Remember that example in the guide, the one about ended up in a job you can't stand? Having that FU fund, that gives you options.
Like an escape hatch.
Exactly.
I love that. It's like this financial safety net, but it's empowering, right? You're taking control of your career, your life.
Totally. It's about making your money match your values, what you actually care about.
So when it comes to actually building these funds, the guide gets into some specifics. They recommend like a breakdown, right, between your regular savings account and other options. Fixed deposits, recurring deposits, even liquid funds.
Yeah, they had a good point about keeping a few months' worth of living expenses easy to access, like in your regular savings. So that's like your immediate safety net for anything urgent.
Right.
But then the rest, the money you're building towards those bigger goals, that's where you can be a little more strategic. Like those fixed deposits, those give you a fixed return over a certain time period. Or recurring deposits, those are great for building that discipline because you're automatically putting money aside regularly.
And for anyone who's comfortable, navigating the whole financial world a bit more, they mention liquid funds.
Right. Right.
A little more flexibility there, potentially higher returns compared to a traditional savings account.
True. But like any investment, got to do your homework, right? Make sure you get what the risks are, all that. There's always going to be that balance. How much risk versus how much reward you're looking at. Being informed is key.
Absolutely. And they did highlight liquid funds as a solid option for parking your emergency fund, since the returns are usually better than a regular savings account, but it's still relatively easy to get your money out if you need it. But their big takeaway, which I thought was really important, was that even if you start small, it's those consistent contributions over time that make a huge difference.
No doubt about it. It's like that whole slow and steady wins the race, right? You don't need a massive chunk of change right away. It's all about building that habit, make it saving a regular thing, and then letting time work its magic. And speaking of time, the next section in this guide dives into something that might seem ages away right now. Retirement planning. I know, I know.
You're probably thinking, retirement, I just got started. But trust me, this is where things get really eye-opening.
Totally. It might feel like a lifetime away, but even now, just thinking about your future self, that can make a huge difference down the line.
Right.
And the guide illustrates it perfectly with this example of, who were they? Anjali and Rahul, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So picture this. You got these two people both starting their careers, making the same amount of money. Anjali, she's on top of it, starts investing for retirement at 21. Rahul, on the other hand, he waits till he's 30.
Okay, so what happens? Does Anjali end up like a millionaire by 30 or something?
Well, it's not about getting rich quick. It's more about this concept, compounded. Anjali might actually end up investing less overall compared to Rahul, but because she started early, her money has more time to grow, right?
Right.
That's the magic of those compound returns. Your money's earning interest, and then that interest starts earning interest, like a snowball effect over time.
Oh, wow. They said that even though Anjali invests less overall, she ends up with like double the retirement savings compared to Rahul. Okay, that's a pretty convincing argument to start early, I gotta say. But like, what can someone realistically expect here? What kind of returns are we even talking about? And I guess like, how does time play into all of this?
Those are the right questions to be asking. It's all about finding that balance between, being realistic but also optimistic about the potential for your money to grow over the long term. We can't predict the future or anything, but historically the stock market's given an average return of about 10% annually.
10%? That's not bad.
Not bad at all. But, and this is key, past performance doesn't guarantee anything for the future. However, the general idea is the longer you're invested, the better the chance your money has to outpace inflation and actually grow.
Right, right. Like giving your investments a longer runway.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, so for someone who's just starting out, what would you say is a good, like, entry point? They seem to be big fans of index funds in this guide.
They are, yeah. And for good reason. Especially if you're new to this whole investing thing, index funds are a great place to start. Basically, think of it like a big basket of different stocks.
Okay.
And this basket, it tracks a specific market index, like say the Nifty 50. So instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, trying to pick individual stocks, you're basically investing in the overall growth of the market.
So it's less about, like, trying to be a stock picking guru and more about a steady long-term strategy.
Pretty much. It's a way to spread your risk around, diversify, and still get in on the potential growth of the market, but without the crazy ups and downs that come with individual stocks.
That makes sense.
Remember, retirement planning, it's not just about hitting a certain age, it's about designing the life you want.
Yes. Having the freedom to actually do what you want, travel, whatever you're into, or just enjoy knowing you've got that financial security.
Okay, so we've talked budgeting, those essential freedom funds, even dipped our toes into the whole retirement thing. But this next section, it takes a bit of a turn. We're talking protection now. Yeah, and it's easy to forget about that part, especially when you're young, feeling invincible.
Right.
But life, it throws curveballs no matter how old you are.
Right.
Being prepared can make all the difference. That's where insurance comes in.
We're talking health insurance, life insurance, all that, and the guide's really clear about how important these are, even now.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, especially if they already get health insurance through work, might be thinking, why do I need another policy?
Yeah, I get that. It makes sense, yeah. But having your own policy, it's like having backup, right?
Mhm.
Just in case.
Yeah, totally.
Like, let's say you decide, hey, I'm going to quit my job, start my own thing, or I need a break, I'm going to travel the world for a bit. There are times when you might not have that safety net from work,
Right.
And that's when having your own health insurance becomes like not even a question, It's essential. And the guide They get real about it too. They talk about how fast a medical emergency can wipe out your savings, even if you think you're prepared.
It's true. And medical costs, forget about it. Those bills add up fast.
No kidding.
It's not even just the hospital stay. It's the tests, the meds, all the stuff after, even rehab sometimes. It's a lot.
And that's exactly why they're so big on getting your own policy sooner rather than later. Makes total sense. While you're young, while you're healthy, premiums are going to be lower. It's like an investment in your well-being, right?
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about life insurance a bit. Isn't that something like you think about when you have kids, a family to think about?
People think that, yeah. But it's not always so clear-cut. Life insurance, it's about protecting whoever depends on you financially.
Right.
That doesn't always mean a spouse and kids,
True.
The guy had a good point about, like, your parents getting older. They might need more help, more support as they age.
Right, they could become financially dependent on you.
Exactly. And don't forget about any debts you might have. Those don't magically disappear, unfortunately. Life insurance can help make sure your loved ones aren't stuck with those if something were to happen.
It's about taking responsibility, even for those just-in-case situations.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got health insurance, life insurance, all about protection, right?
Right.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, they snuck in this bonus tip that I thought was so interesting. It's this idea of like building your personal brand as a form of, get this, professional insurance. Don't think I've ever heard it put that way before.
It's a different way to think about it, for sure. But in this day and age, with everything being online,
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? Sharpening your skills, whatever you're passionate about, and then putting yourself out there online, I mean, that can open up all sorts of doors.
They actually quote this creator, Jack Appleby, who said, building a personal brand around your career is the best professional insurance you could ask for. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of brilliant. So how does someone even go about building this professional insurance?
Well, it's about being strategic, right? Building your online presence, whether that's through, I don't know, a blog, a podcast maybe, creating cool content on social media, even just being active in those online communities, whatever your field is, that kind of thing.
Right, becoming part of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is to be visible. Let people see what you bring to the table, what you know. Establish yourself as like a voice in your industry. Build that reputation.
It's almost like you're creating this network, this web of opportunities. You never know who's going to see your work online and be like, hey, that's what I need.
Exactly. You're out there planting seeds, making connections, and who knows, it might lead to things you never even imagined.
It's about taking control, right? Creating your own opportunities.
Totally.
So as you're stepping into this whole world of financial independence, just remember, it's not just about the numbers, the spreadsheets, all that.
It's about designing a life that actually reflects what you care about.
Your values, what gets you excited, your dreams, all that. It's about having the freedom to actually go for those dreams, knowing that you've built a strong foundation to support you along the way.
Hey, you never know. You might just inspire your friends and family to take charge of their finances, too.
That's always a plus. Well, this deep dive into the Finshots Money Milestones guide has given us a ton to unpack. But before we sign off, we want to leave you with something to think about. One last question. We've covered all the practical steps you can take, right, to get to that place of financial freedom. But what about how it makes you feel? Take some time this week to reflect on this. How do you think reaching those financial goals might change things for you emotionally? Will it bring you more peace of mind? More confidence? Maybe it'll give you the courage to chase after those dreams without constantly worrying about money. Something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.